Hey, Hans, and welcome back to season 4 of the Hey Hun podcast. I have missed you guys so very much. You would not even believe. You wouldn't believe. Trust me. Trust me. So, we've been gone for a minute. So, what I'm going to do is just jump right into it so that we won't have a delay because, I like to just dive in, right? Okay. So, first, though, I want to tell you guys that I guess I just want to put out there about a trigger warning. So this is going to be a little bit of a hard topic. So I'm going to let some people who may have an issue feel free to step away if you must, because today we are going to talk about a stale topic, which I know by the time you guys see this, yeah, it will be stale. But of course, I have to give my opinion per usual. But I had to take a moment before I could just rush in and just start to talk. So the trigger warning here is that we're going to talk about the Tiffany Haddish and the Aries Spears situation. And like I said, I know by the time you guys this is posted and published, it will be stale. But I still wanted to give a little bit of take on it. For some people who may not know certain things or who may know certain things. And also, let me say, I always like to have a conversation. So if you know that you want to have a conversation with me, feel free to DM me on Instagram. We can chat in the comments, whatever it is that you like to do. If you have, some additional information, or if you just want to have a conversation about it, I am absolutely there. I am for it. I am always for a conversation. Okay. So let's go into the backstory. Okay. So according to some information that was obtained for me back in 2014, there was a PSA done for or on pedophilia. And Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears were working together to do this. And I think that they both, if I'm remembering correctly, were executive producing the PSA. But there were actual children used for the PSA. And I know you're thinking, well, if it's a PSA for pedophilia, then yeah, children can be used. That's a slippery slope. And when I say slippery slope, once we get into this, you'll see exactly where I'm coming from, because the children that were used, they were siblings. There was a 14-year-old female and a 7-year-old male. Again, siblings, right? And it wasn't that they were random children. Tiffany actually had some form of a relationship with their mother. And she posed to the mother that she'd like to take the kids and get them some form of exposure. Okay. And the mom agreed, of course. And, once they got together and came to a decision that, yes, they were going to do this, they get to the spot. Tiffany gets the kids and they get to the spot. Well, the children get pretty much separated. And from what I've obtained, because I wasn't there, what I've obtained is that the children were separated. Okay. So once they were separated, one child was taken into a space, and it was a dark space, and realized that there were people gawking pretty much. I've even heard in some instances that there was food being eaten, but it was a very uncomfortable situation. That child was asked to get into only their underwear. And once that child got down to the underwear, it was a bathroom scene where that child was in the bathtub, and then, in enters the really weird, uncomfortable the uncle that makes you uncomfortable, that, nobody actually likes to be around because he's actually that uncle, that relative. And once that child got into the bathtub, the recording still ensued. Everything happens. It's also stated that one of the children was given instructions on how to perform fellatio. So, yeah, it was a lot to unpack. Now, if we would fast forward to 2020, Aries Spears was doing an interview. And for some reason, when he was asked about the rapper Lizzo, he went completely, I won't say off script, but he went completely in another direction. And he began to trash Lizzo, and it just went awry. Let's just say that. And almost instantly, of course it wasn't instant, but almost instantly, the court documents from this case and the video surfaced. Coincidence? Who am I to say? But that's kind of how the timeline goes, if you want to look at it that way. So it had been a while. Like I said, this was recorded in 2014, right? Now, with going back to Aries Spears speaking about the way that he did about Lizzo, let me put this out there. There is not a man, this point, there is not a man that should comment on a woman's weight. There isn't a man anywhere that should comment on a woman's weight at all. Period. And I'll just leave that there with the period. Okay? But moving on. I'll have to tell you guys that I haven't seen the complete video. There were snippets that I was looking at, and, I was like, yep, that's enough. Can't do it. It was a lot. And nor am I going to post the link to any videos or post the video or anything like that, because it's just, I'm not going to give exposure where exposure doesn't need to be. Pretty much, that's it. I'm not going to give that exposure at all. But I will say that I'm not here to cancel Tiffany at all, because that's not for me to do. I'm not canceling. A lot of people have canceled her because I did see where she was on a show that I like to watch. And she mentioned that she had lost all of her work. She is unemployed. As she put it, gigs. She's lost all of her gigs due to this lawsuit. Now, I have to say, this lawsuit has been dismissed on Tiffany and Aries. So nothing has come forward from it, and I think one of the children came out and, posted a statement about the situation. And of course, Aries and Tiffany were saying, that they felt like it was a shakedown while everything was going on. And they, of course, they weren't happy with it, but they felt like it was just all about money, and that people were just after them. I don't know, because I wasn't a part of it. But I will say my take and my PSA is, it doesn't matter how long you have known someone, that can be a relative and or a friend. You have to watch out for your children in any instance, and I know that people are saying, like Tiffany knew better and all of these things or whatever. Tiffany had a very rough upbringing. She said that numerous times. So it's not a secret. She was a victim of sexual assault. And I will say, from a personal note, that doesn't give anyone cause to just run free. Now, when I say it doesn't give anyone cause, to me, in my opinion, a victim of sexual assault is more hypersensitive. And when I say that, it's because you don't want that to happen to anyone that you come in contact with. I won't even just say anyone that you can see a child or whatever, or a person, and if that has happened to you and you kind of sense some things that are, because if you are a victim, or a survivor, I should say, not a victim, a survivor of SA, then you kind of have like your spidey senses start to tingle. So you have a different way that you look at things. Sometimes it's a little overboard. I will put that in there, but it makes you more hypersensitive to things and not so laid back. So yeah, I'm not defending her actions at all, because they were highly questionable. I am not one. Again, we're not here to judge. But yes, highly questionable. But I will say, again, I will repeat, children have to be looked out for. A 7-year-old, and I know a lot of people are like, well, she was 14. She couldn't. No, because you don't know what fear tactics or what someone has said, and you want to let anybody down. And, it's just different variables in there. But when it comes to your child, you have to be you have to be their advocate so much more than you think. That it almost seems unreal, and it probably makes other people uncomfortable, but who cares about how uncomfortable someone else feels when you're making sure that you're taking care of your child. Now, again, we are not saying that Tiffany should not have a job. She should not have, things. I will say, and I know she probably can't speak too much on it, even though the case has been dismissed and it's over. There has to be some form of reconciliation. I think that, there may have been a settlement out of court, but for trauma, money actually doesn't fix trauma. Yes, there is therapy. There is. But, that's not always the answer. So, whether the family was going after that or not, I don't know, but, or the parent or whomever. If this was really a traumatic experience, as they said that it was, then money really isn't going to fix it, unless the money is used for those appointments, that $150 an hour, or upwards of that. You have to understand that children are, up until they're like 5 or 6, as I'm remembering correctly, from child development, their brains are like sponges, and by the time you're 10, your personality is pretty much who you are. So if trauma has happened and you're not quite 10 yet and it hasn't been fixed, then that's a part of you. Now, I'm not saying that if you're older, it doesn't become a part of you. That's not what I'm saying. But we can't allow for people, children, adults, whatever, to simply just do things for the sake of doing things, for the sake of being, having a name that everyone knows. And that's not even on a larger scale. Yes, those two names, Tiffany and Aries, we know on a larger scale. But if there is a relative that everyone knows and that everyone loves, on that larger scale in the family, you still have to make sure that your children are protected from them and not let them use who they are. And I hate to say status, but, in the family, not let that be a hindrance for you either calling them out or doing something about it. And I will say this, always make sure that your kids are okay with telling you anything. My son is 26, And I don't know from what age, I can't even remember, but I've always let him know, dude, we can talk about anything. As long as it's, in a manner that, we're not being disrespectful, then we can talk about anything. You know, make sure your kids know that they can come to you. And if someone is doing something that you've taught them is not right, or is not, no matter what age, let them know that they can come and let you know. And I know this all seems so like, okay, well, I know that. But in some cases, we feel like we said it or done it, and we may have just kind of brushed over it. But I will say, a in my opinion, a constant reminder of that is not a bad thing. A constant reminder of, listen, and then you go on with that conversation, is not a bad thing. I can remember talking to my son again when he was younger about some things, and he would kind of do the eye roll when he was a teenager or whatever, and then do the repeating what I'm about to say because he had heard it so many times. That didn't offend me. It didn't offend me because that means that you've heard it enough that you know how to respond in these situations, what to do. So that's just my little quick PSA. I wish everyone involved, from the mother, on, because that relationship, is damaged because, you feel like you can trust someone, especially with your children, and then you feel a little betrayed, and betrayal is kind of a hard thing to get over as well. So, there's that. But again, I wish everyone well. I don't wish any malice, but I do hope that everybody comes out of this healed. Especially the younger people. They come out of it healed and not have any residual once they become adults and get into their own relationships and or children. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of remind us, this wasn't to put anybody on blast or anything, but it just brought some things back to me that we kind of need to probably have that nudge again about not let the kid wander off here, or not just say, girl, yes, I need a break, can you please get, unless you absolutely know, and then you still may need to absolutely think, and that's not to scare anyone or to make anyone feel like, oh my God, everybody around my child. No, that is not what I'm saying. Just do your due diligence. That's all I'm saying. With family and friends. That's it. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, because we have to protect the kids, because if we don't, who will? They're ours. They're ours to protect. Even if they're not biologically yours, they're ours. If you are a mom, or, that aunt, that favorite aunt, all kids pretty much become yours because you have that eye, you know. So again, that was just my little PSA, my little bit, my little of it. So yeah, I even wish you guys well, and I hope that it may remind you that you may have to, hey, I think I may need to have a conversation, or possibly revisit the conversation. You never know. You never know. All right, you guys. So that's all that I have for you this week. Again, I am so happy that you're back with me for season 4. I hope that you are enjoying so far, even though this is the first episode. I hope that you are enjoying. And like usual, I hope that this little bit of chat has brought some solace to you. And until we meet again, stay safe, laugh loud, and love always.